evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome Three Rivers Broadcasting special presentation this evening. We're going to shelve the corner kick once a month as we run towards the World Cup, and we are going to offer a new program. It's called Countdown to Qatar, and I will be joined monthly, by Amadeo Eichberg from La Mega Media here in Pittsburgh. Amadeo, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, very happy to be here, Alex.
Happy to have you on board. He is going to be our resident expert as it pertains to World Cup history, as it pertains to CONCACAF and CONMEBOL. We're going to talk about South America a little bit. We're going to whip you around the World Cup qualifying scene once a month as we start that big march in towards the Winter World Cup. But it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I can't wait.
So we want to get things started off by introducing you. Obviously, the folks that are on Three Rivers, they know who I am at this point. At least I would hope they do. But you're going to be with us this year. Tell us a little bit about yourself, La Mega, and your history in soccer.
Of course. First of all, I was named Amadeo, not for Mozart, but for Amadeo Carrizo, which was a famous Argentine goalkeeper for my dad's favorite team, River Plate. In fact, he made me a member of the team 8 days into my life. So when I was 8 days old, I was already officially a member of River Plate, because in Argentina, you become members of the team that you root for. And it just kept going from there. I played soccer as a youth. I had such passion for it. I was a winger. And before I discovered girls and partying and rock music, I might have even gotten a scholarship. But
sounds like a lot of us.
Yeah. So that's that. But as far as World Cups, so as you know, soccer is my favorite sport. So in my favorite sport, the best tournament is of course the World Cup soccer tournament. And ever since I was young, I go crazy for the tournament. The first memories I remember was actually there was a soccer team called the Tampa Bay Rowdies, which I went to the soccer camp called Camp Kick in the Grass back in 1977. And they showed the film of the West Germany 2-1 victory over Holland in 74. They didn't have a lot of videotapes, so they kept showing that over and over. And then I was so happy when 1978 World Cup came around, because that was in my home country of Argentina. And I was able to attend, so that was great. I took a trip there, and I was 10 years old, and while I didn't go to the final, I went to the first game, Argentina versus Hungary, where Argentina came back to win 2-1 with a great free kick goal by Daniel Passarella. And that team just was phenomenal and went on to win that World Cup. I'll go more into that later, but I just remember the people going crazy at the Obelisco, which was downtown in Buenos Aires. People replaying the goals on their cassette tape boom boxes. People just singing and dancing like nobody's business. And I was like, that's when I knew that the World Cup was something special. So I also attended the one 4 years later in Spain when Italy won. And that one I was fortunate, Alex, to have been there at the final for the 3-1 victory there for the Italians. And then from there, every 4 years, I just went crazy for the World Cup. Obviously, Maradona won it 4 years later, and Argentina also had a good showing in 1990. We'll get to the history down there. But my point is, I've been to 3 out of the last 10 World Cups, so 30% of the last World Cups. I have a true passion for it. And to be honest, it's unfair to all my employers in the past, because I always take that month off and play hooky. Whatever job I have, I'm just in some random bar, even catching the lower tier games. I see Alex laughing, so I guess he's like that too. And it's not just me and Alex. I'm sure there's so many of you out there that know what I'm talking about. It's a full-on World Cup fever of 103 degrees. And I think we're going to start having it very soon.
I have a friend who he's lactose intolerant and dead serious. Whenever he's half Danish and half Ecuadorian. Whenever either one of them plays in the World Cup, the night before, he eats like a pint of ice cream so he doesn't have to go to work the next day.
That's hilarious.
And stays at home and He doesn't feel good, but
there's stories like
he,
that.
he stays home and watches the World Cup.
Throughout the soccer world. So productivity definitely goes
Oh,
down.
that absolutely goes
it's
down.
not just a theory. It's that actually been proven.
Oh yeah, no, the world slows down a little bit for a month. Yeah,
no
absolutely. It's like I think if you equate it to America, the first 2 weeks of the NCAA basketball tournament, the country kind of slows up a little bit. But yeah, I think the beauty of the World Cup is that it's not just one country that slows down to watch this. It's everywhere.
And the camaraderie between soccer fans and just wherever you go to duck in to watch a game, you'll see someone else doing the same thing.
Absolutely.
A conversation, and one of the many beauties of the World Cup. Before we go on, there's a lot going on right in terms of qualification, but I thought it was good to go back a little bit just on this inaugural show about the history of the World Cup.
1930 we go.
And why this tournament is forget the Olympics. This is the biggest tournament. Forget Stanley Cup, forget World Series, forget
Super
Bowl,
is it.
Forget Monaco, forget Kentucky Derby. I can go down the list. This is it. 1930 it started. It was very humble roots, and back then they didn't have air flight, so teams would take these ships to come over. And the first World Cup was held in 1930 in Uruguay, and Uruguay won that one.
That was invitational only. There was no qualification.
That was, and a lot of people think the teams were so tired by the time they got over to Uruguay. But Uruguay had a good team. The Celeste won the first one. 4 years later, it was held in Italy, and that was 2 in a row where the host nation won. The Italians won their first one there. Then there was a 12-year pause, Alex, because of World War II. Yep. Obviously, that dictates things. But things got up and kicking again in 1950. And that was perhaps the best World Cup final, the most surprising, because Brazil had built the Maracanã, the famed stadium with that holds over 180,000 people. This thing is a palace soccer stadium, and they were expecting to party. They had the better team, and Uruguay came in there and shocked them. It was a 2-1 victory. The Brazilians were shocked, and this is a true thing. Over 212, there were 212 suicides directly after the game attributed to that. So,
that's a bit tragic.
Yeah, and it's sad, but what other sport
can say that?
Say
yeah.
that? 4 years later, I think that was so we're at 54.
54 was Switzerland.
That was the Switzerland one, and that was the one West Germany and Hungary. Hungary had a power team with Puskás. It's like a Michael Jordan of sorts, and Germany surprised everybody, and it was foreshadowing of things to come from Germany because they played very disciplined, organized, and they got a 3-2 victory there. And then it became Brazil's show. From 62 on, they won 3 out of the 4. They won in 62. They took a break in 66 because
England.
Great Britain finally. The inventors of the sport, Alex. It's kind of good that they got one.
They got one, yeah.
But it was in their home field. The Argentines will say that game where they kicked out an Argentine was controversial. So the Germans will say that third goal that hit the crossbar and went directly on the line. Not sure if it went over the line. But at any rate, the Queen was able to give the trophy to the players, and that made for a good scene in 66. 70, Pelé was towards the end of his career, but again, reasserted himself like the Rey, the king. And he termed the coin the beautiful game, and it is the beautiful game. Then in 74, that's when I start remembering them. That was Germany beating Holland. Holland is the bridesmaid of World Cup.
Always. Never the bride.
And it's sad because in 74 and 78, they had World Cup championship teams, of course, with Johan Cruyff and the Clockwork Orange, the famous total football, it was called, where the defenders would go up, the forwards would go back, midfielders would go every which direction, and it just dizzied players. So that's what that. And now I'll bring you just to the end for now, which is 1978 when I was a kid. I did bring something. I don't want this to turn into show and tell, but I did.
Show and tell is always fun.
Okay.
We do this here sometimes.
Okay.
Well, I'll pull things off the wall or out of the vault, and we'll share them.
Well, let's do that. I have 4 cool things.
So yeah, let's have at it.
All right. First, my grandmother had stores of women's clothing, and the Argentine government gave all the store owners things to decorate their windows because they wanted to really promote the game. Plus, it was a military dictatorship. They wanted to take the attention from some of their war crimes. But that's neither here nor there.
Neither here nor there.
Here's the first thing for the stores to use. I don't know if you could see it there. It's like a 3D.
That's perfect. I think we got that.
3D thing with a gauchito. Now, in terms of mascots, the gauchito has to be at the top, especially compared to some of the lame mascots that came after, like the Spain, where you had an orange, a fruit of an orange with hands and feet.
Not FIFA's strong point.
Or even the US '94 with soccer dog.
I remember that one. Yeah, that was
like Snoopy. That was a misfire. Here was a way to take the culture, which is the gaucho, the Argentine cowboy. And of course, let's look at it. Well, it's too cool not to look at it again. And he's got the classic Argentine dress on top of the football. That's part one. Part two was a magazine that came out in 1978. This is a relic, and that has the team.
Yep, looks great.
And on the back, the star of that World Cup, Mario Alberto Kempes. That's another thing of Argentina. When you're really good, you get that third name in, that middle name, whether it's Diego Armando Maradona or Mario Alberto Kempes. But yeah, Mario Kempes he scored 6 goals, and he was the star of the team. And finally here, he was in black and white, but this part is in color. And I think this is the 78 team. A big argument in Argentina, Alex, is what was the better team, the 78 or the 86 that had Maradona? I argue the 78 because it was a more complete team. You had a goalie named Filiol that would stop everything. A defender, Tarantini, with long hair, would stop everything. Passarella, Kempes, Luque. It was just a great team, and they deserved. They were. I'm trying to stay objective, but they definitely deserved the championship. And then 2 more quick things. One, these are little stickers of the gauchito that you could put on the car, one of those scrape-off kind of things. And I'm not a nerd, Alex, but I did not open it because I hear that if you don't open it, like
the value goes up. That's right.
So,
Yeah.
So I've kept them close, even though with my new sports car, I'm tempted to put a gauchito there. And I wonder if it still works after all these years. And look at the back with the little logos.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome that you kept them.
Collector's items. And then one last thing. I kind of saved the best for last because we're in the U.S. and these are all Argentine things. So when I got back to the airport in Miami, a 10-year-old kid said, "Dad, please buy me this magazine." And no, it wasn't a Playboy, although I did like those good articles. But it was this, Sports Illustrated with Argentina on the cover, and I kept it.
You kept it.
Look at that. 1978. Passarella holding the World Cup. He's the captain.
That's a great collector's item.
This is a big deal. And I'm looking at the article, which came out, and you'll be surprised that there were 4 pages for a soccer article. That's pretty good.
For Sports Illustrated, that's pretty good, especially in the 70s.
70s. And this is late 70s, so 78. And remember, the NASL was big then, too. And then I love this picture with all the papelitos.
The fans, yeah.
The fans throw paper when the team comes out. That's a very Argentine thing. So I'm sorry if I kind of went a little bit into the show and tell, but that kind of brings you up to 78. The idea here was to kind of to show the rich history of the World Cup and set us up that every show we can do, we can focus on another World Cup. Next month we'll talk about the World Cup in 1982, held in Spain, which I was lucky to attend as well. So that brings us up to date. Alex, can we go over some of the groups?
Yeah, I think we should get into that a little bit, and then why don't we do our first set of groups here, first couple regions, and we'll take a little break, and then we'll come back and we'll go into kind of Europe and the Americas. I know you had wanted to begin by just giving a rundown of where some of the regions we don't necessarily always talk about are at. I know we were going to start with Africa, so let me pull that up here real quick. AFCON World Cup qualifiers. Just need to see where we're at here. FIFA 22 World Cup qualifiers for Africa. They are in the final round of qualifying now for the World Cup. Oh, of course, I went to the wrong website. Well, this is the beauty of doing it live.
Okay.
Well, I think I've got off of that for some reason. Here we are. All right, so here we are. They're in the final round now, so it's 2 legs in March, and we can talk about it a little more when we get there. But Egypt, Senegal, Cameroon against Algeria, Ghana, Nigeria, Democratic Republic of Congo against Morocco, and the surprise of the whole group is Mali, who is taking on Tunisia at the end. And I think proponents of the expanded World Cup will argue that the reason you need to expand the World Cup and give more berths to places like Africa are half of these teams aren't going to make it, and most of them probably deserve a seat at the table. Now, I'm a traditionalist, and for me, less is more in the World Cup. But nevertheless, the next World Cup will be.
We seem to agree on.
Will be bigger,
unfortunately, because I agree. I think it dilutes.
It does.
Dilutes the talent, and then the other thing is. Part of the storyline, Alex, is when a team gets left out, when a big boy like Italy gets left out, or
it adds to
Holland,
yeah.
So yeah, and it's a big jump from 32 to 48 as it will be next time. So out of those countries, I did bring just some visual aids. These are the guys that are still alive. Cameroon, I remember when they beat Argentina in the opener of 1990. After that, I respect them.
One of the first players I remember as a kid in '94 watching was Roger Mila from Cameroon.
Oh my God! And Alex, he must have been in his early 40s.
He was towards the end.
He would come off the bench and just score like nobody's business. I agree. Congo's normally not there, but they're welcome to the finals of Africa. Egypt, such a big country, so people from Cairo.
Salah may be the best player in the world. You could debate it. He's in the mix, top five. Yeah,
he's in excellent form. Ghana, the U.S. knows how fast.
Ghana's always a tough out. Yep.
And then it's great that you brought up Mali, because just the simple fact, Alex, is they would be a debutante.
Yeah.
They would be the first. I love the storylines when a country goes to the World Cup for the first time. The people go nuts for it.
Don't sleep on them either. Talented roster.
Okay, I need to find out more, but I like that they're in the final mix. Morocco, they're kind of also rents, but Nigeria's to be respected. They beat Argentina many times. They're fast, they're physical. That green uniform definitely needs to be respected, and I still say they're one of the favorites. Although FIFA will tell you that this country is the favorite of the region, Senegal.
Senegal's always deep and talented.
Not only that, Alex, the FIFA rankings came out number 20th in the world, in the entire world. So and the top ranked African team. The two last is Tunisia. Tunisia, I remember from 1978, they competed there. And by the way, 1978 only had 16 teams, so talk about that.
Those were the days.
Yeah, and then finally, the Algerians.
2 of the best strikers in the world, Slimani and Mahrez.
There you go, and that's why, Alex, you're really up on your stuff. Now,
I'm also watching AFCON right now, so I'm doing my homework by watching the African tournament. So
and listen, I don't want to disrespect this region. Anytime you say I don't want to disrespect, you're about to be disrespected. But so far, there has not been a World Cup champion to come out of this region. That might change. That's why we are paying attention to that.
I think there's a lot of money being invested in the game.
I think eventually,
you'll see it.
I think you're going to see it in the next champion. From a region outside of Europe and South America, I think will be from there. All right, should we go to Asia?
Yeah, let's move on very quickly. Asia is in what is coming to their, I guess this is their final round. Then they'll have a playoff spot for the Interconfederation playoffs, where they'll take on Asia's 4th round winner. Their little playoff will take on CONMEBOL's 5th place team from South America. Right now, Iran and South Korea are in Pot A. They're looking pretty good to qualify. Everybody else is chasing the pack. Group B is the one that's more interesting because it's 3 teams for 2 spots. You've got Saudi Arabia and Japan and Australia. They're all kind of jostling for the 2 automatic bids. And then obviously the 3rd place team from there will have to try to qualify in a much more difficult way than obviously the direct route, or if they got a better draw, maybe if, say, AFC drew CONCACAF or Oceania, you would stand a pretty good chance. Now, CONMEBOL's 5th place team, you could end up with Colombia or something like that. It's going to be much more difficult.
No doubt. But Saudi Arabia seems like the cream of the crop here. along.
They're always consistent.
Yeah.
You know, their players never leave the Saudi domestic league because they get paid big bucks, but they've pumped a lot of money in the World Cup. They really broke on, I guess, when I was younger, like the 90s. Was when they really first broke through, and they've just stuck around ever since as one of the powers in Asia.
And who do you think is better between South Korea and Japan, Alex? Or you think it's pretty tight between those two nations?
Their styles are very similar. The way they develop players are very similar. I think Japan's depth is better at the top, but South Korea and them, you know, on any given day, really think it's a flip a coin. They're very similar countries as far as their team.
For Japan, that wonderful player.
Oh, let's see who's
from Tottenham Hotspur.
Let's see who's playing for. Oh, he plays for Korea.
Oh, for Korea.
Yeah.
What a solid player.
Yeah, he plays for Son plays for Korea. Yeah, Japan. Let's see who they've brought in. Players.
Who's their star?
But these days I think Haraguchi, Genki Haraguchi's one of them, and Minamino from Liverpool is another one, and they're both in the squad for.
And before we move on to a different section, what do you think about the boys from down under?
Australia is, I think, what we. And I've read some articles from down there over the last few months where they've interviewed some of the guys who were bigger when, say, like I was in middle school, high school, players like Mark Viduka, Harry Kewell, who were playing in England. And they said that there's the generation now, it's almost like Australia is going through right now what the U.S. went through last time, where they've said like they don't have the bite or the next, like they don't have this next level guy, the killer instinct. They're good, but they're missing a leader. You know, Tim Cahill was a leader, Viduka was a leader. They don't have that kind of guy.
But judging from
they're good.
Judging from the table, they're right in the mix, and Japan is definitely looking over the shoulder at them. Okay.
Yeah, so that's
all right. So we can move on. I think that looks pretty clear, and that's a simple one.
Why don't we take a quick break, and then we'll come back and go to Europe.
Sounds good.
All right, we'll be back with more on the Countdown to Qatar on Three Rivers Broadcasting. Carnegie Ironworks is Pittsburgh's go-to for artistic, unique, and decorative steel and iron designs. We provide custom fencing, interior and exterior railings, outdoor fire pits, window coverings, and much more. If you can think of it, we can fabricate it. Find us on the web at www.carnegieiron.com. That's Carnegie Ironworks, for when you need it for 500 years. Are you an athlete looking to take your game and performance to the next level? Gym Rat Performance Training is where Pittsburgh's elite competitors go to train. We specialize in personal training, strength, speed, and agility training, sports-specific training, and we offer the best basketball player development in the City of Champions. If you are ready to transform your body, expand your mind, and reach your potential, it's time to join the Rat Pack at gymratpt.com. That's GYMRATPT.com. Gym Rat Performance Training, punishing Pittsburgh since 2016 because rats don't rest. The Polish Falcons of America's new term life insurance plan is the perfect choice for young individuals and families looking to plan for tomorrow today. PFA Term Life can provide a substantial lump sum benefit in the event of a tragic loss, helping loved ones pay off a mortgage, credit cards, student loans, and cover funeral expenses. Learn more by calling 1-800-535-2071. That's 1-800-535-2071 or visiting PolishFalcons.org. We are back here on Three Rivers Broadcasting. It's our very first Countdown to Qatar program, replacing the corner kick once a month as we run in. But we are joined by Amadeo Eichberg from La Mega Media here in Pittsburgh. Good show so far.
Gracias. I think we have chemistry, even though people would never know that this is the fourth time we hang out. Just a little background. I met Alex at covering the Riverhounds game, actually. Two extroverts came together. He says, wow, you're covering it in Spanish. The coach is going to be happy to have another body. And then we chatted on the way out. We found shared interests right away, not only with soccer, but with other things. And another thing we have in common, and I think we'll get a laugh out of some of your hardcore soccer fans, both of our favorite MLS soccer teams are defunct. The Tampa Bay Mutiny, unfortunately, no longer with us, despite having Pibe Valderrama. And then Alex's New Jersey Metro Stars.
Yeah, that was a bad idea from the get-go. I mean, the name was terrible. But
six words for a name. Come on. I mean, I thought Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets was long.
But, oh, no. New Jersey. What a great idea.
Just freaking pick a name. Jersey or New York. But to have both with a dash, with that's almost so... So it's uncool. I can't think of another word to say it. And unless you're Borussia Mönchengladbach or something like that can back up a good name,
it's not going to work. Yeah. No,
so
Red Bull New York a lot easier.
And compare with New York Cosmos. I mean, come on, 3 words So both of those teams, I think, were doomed because Mutiny's not a great name.
That's not a great name either, no.
So and they had the worst logo, like a bat-looking thing.
Yeah, it was very odd. It was bizarre.
You guys can look it up. It's a strange thing. But sorry, we did get sidetracked. But the point is that
we have a lot in common. Yeah,
we're off to a good start. All right, shall we go to Europe?
Yeah, let's go to Europe. We wanted to break this down by group.
I say we go group by group, so we move on, and then we'll say goodbye to the people that will not be joining us this year. Group A, a surprise winner there, guys, and I got some visual aids. So this is a surprise winner.
I figured
Serbia, out of nowhere, first place, and it puts Portugal into the playoffs. So,
now, I figured Portugal would have. I think they would have been the top two anyway, but I thought Portugal would have won the group, but and Ireland being that far back, I think those were the two best teams. But again, Serbia
and just
knocking them off was big.
As a fan, I always like to see Ireland in there because
they travel so well.
The green, the drinking, and all that. But sorry, it's going to be St. Patrick's Day. They're going to be watching from their home. All right, so we got that. Group A, congratulations. And the other two were not really major players.
No.
All right, let's go over to the Spaniards in Group B.
No surprise there?
No, but it was kind of a tough group because there's 3 really solid teams there, and the Greeks got left out. Another big-name nation that's too bad they won't be joining us. And if you remember, Greece had that 1 year where
won the Euros
and just won the Euro just out of nowhere. I think there were like 200 or 300 to 1 odds. So it's sad, and the Greeks gave the world so many good things, from philosophers to baklava. It's sad that you're not going to be joining us, but I'm sorry, them's the breaks. Now when the field expands to 48,
you got a shot.
A team like Greece is in. All right, so let's put the Spaniards. Congratulations, Spain. You can start eating paellas. And listen, Spain is since the last 3 decades perennially great team. They won it in 2010 using their tic-tac short pass kind of revolutionary soccer style.
It changed the game.
Yeah, Alex, and let's look at the Euros. The last Euros, they were in the semifinals, real close to making the final. So no surprise at all that Spain won that group, right, Alex?
No, not at all.
Okay, now as far as the second place, another one that's always kind of there, which are the Swedes. Sweden, I don't know. What are your thoughts on Sweden? They always seem to tie, and they're
solid defense. They're solid defensively. They're good at parking the bus, if you want to call it that. You know, they can sit behind the ball, and I think once they knew they were in a safe spot, wiped that loss to Georgia away at the end. I think they knew they were probably not going to beat Spain. They've got I believe a couple of friendlies coming up where they've used mainly domestic players. They have some very good players. I think Emil Forsberg from Red Bull Leipzig is obviously very, very good. And then you're going to have the conversation because Zlatan is going to want to be in the team.
Sure.
But the question, are you going to take a 40-year-old Zlatan to the World Cup or into the playoffs? Personally, if I'm the Swedish manager, with the way he's playing, yes.
And the prestige, it'll just lift the spirits of the other teammates. So yeah. Moving on to the next, we have that was another surprise. The Switzerland. Maybe not such a big surprise when you take into account Switzerland knocked out the defending champs France in the Copa, in the Eurocopa, and the fact that they have been getting better. And there's nothing neutral about Switzerland. They're good.
They're good.
And now, so we'll put them in going to the party. I like their Red Cross kind of looking flag. And then, surprisingly, going to the playoffs. Forza Italia.
In a that playoff bracket is tough too because you got Portugal and Turkey in there too. That's going to be tough.
Of death in the past, that's it. As far as Italy, having to go and fight the hard way, that is a shocker, and especially since they won the Eurocopa so convincingly with Mancini, flawless coaching, and perhaps the best goalkeeper in the world. And just a complete team that gained strength during the tournament. But the fact remains that either Italy or Portugal will not be at the next World Cup. So either you have the Eurocopa defending champs not be there, or you have perhaps one of the top 5 players in the world,
not there.
Ronaldo not there.
Yeah.
So either way, it's going to be a shocker. Moving on. This is where we get to one of the favorites.
Absolutely.
And especially one of the favorites that has never won it, and that is, of course, Belgium. The Red Devils have perhaps 2 of the top 5 players in the world. Who's that great forward?
Oh, Lukaku and De Bruyne, yeah.
That's it. I mean, that's and just
rock solid defense.
Rock solid, and those red uniforms, they mean something now, and rightly so. They are in the clubhouse, just kicking back, and they don't have to do the playoff thing. Now, in that division, the one who is going to the playoffs are the people of Wales. And Gareth, who's their star?
Gareth Bale, right man, wrong country. Just like Ryan Giggs before him, right man, wrong country.
I would agree. But he can score a goal at any time, so Wales is dangerous. Don't kid yourself. Watch out for them. Then in the next group, this is where it gets kind of interesting because this was kind of an even group. But guess who's in there already? And this is fun because the Danish. All right.
And I think that's a team that when Eriksson had that cardiac incident in Euros, they could have easily dropped their heads, fallen out in the Euros, played poorly in World Cup qualifying, and they went the opposite way. They used it as inspiration, and they have played inspired for the last 8 months. They've been fantastic.
No doubt, and definitely deserve to be kicking back, already qualified. Hey, all of these teams that are in the kicking back section, they won their group, so they deserve to be where they're at. Number 2, and then going to the playoffs, I don't think they're going to make noise in the playoffs, but the Scots.
I don't think that they will either. They just don't have the depth or the firepower to.
And it's a shame because that's another great fan base, Alex, with the bagpipes and the Highland fling and the kilts. It's a shame. But
I also think from the playoff perspective, not to look ahead a little bit because I know we want to talk about it. I'm sure UEFA, the television rights companies, BBC, whoever has it here in America, whether it's Fox or whatever, has the playoffs, is dying for a Scotland-Wales playoff to go to the World Cup because ratings-wise, that will do a heck of a lot better than Ukraine-Austria.
No doubt. And so we'll see if that happens. Then the next group, of course, Clockwork Orange is in. Holland, Netherlands, however you want to call them, the Great Orange. Now 3-time bridesmaid. Who knows if this is their year? Although they don't really have star power. It seems like more of a complete team. Am I right?
It always is. I think they have 2 of the best defenders in the world right now at different ages. You have Van Dijk at Liverpool and De Ligt at Juve, who I mean, the first time I saw him when he was at Ajax, I didn't understand that he was only 18 years old. He looked like he was 35 with how big he was. Very good in the defense, deep in the midfield. Wijnaldum, De Jong, they're good.
They're a contender.
They're a contender.
Okay, no doubt. And then second in the group is the Turks. And
Pesky, don't count them out in the playoff.
Okay, and they have two top teams in the club level. So we are there, and then let's get to the last two groups. This is exciting because we have qualified. The defending subcampeones is the word. You're going to be learning Spanish throughout these shows. Subcampeones, runners-up. And they were runners-up in the last World Cup against a very, very tough French team.
I would argue that there is not a country on earth that maximizes its player development better than Croatia does. For a country of only 4 or 5 million people, it's incredible how good they are and how they can develop talent. And I think they were heavy on leaning on Dinamo Zagreb to do it for a long time. Now there's 5 or 6 teams that have academies that really develop players very, very well in Croatia.
So look out for them. They are some of their stars are a step slower.
They're a little older,
but the experience of being there, and they have a chip on their shoulder, Alex, because they want to prove that it wasn't a fluke that they got to the World Cup final. And it wasn't a fluke that they beat the English that were fully penciling themselves
into the final. Yeah.
All right, and then in second place, having to go through a playoffs, the Russians. Putin would have liked to already have been qualified, but they're going to have to go the hard route. Huge country, up and down soccer history. Where do you see the Russian team?
Backline is just okay. That's where they're susceptible, and that's where you can beat them. I think Golovin, who plays for Monaco, is very good. I don't think they have the depth at the striker position that they did the last go-around, where they played fairly well. I think Russia, and Russia's going to have a good battle with the Poles in the Path B in the playoffs. So I think that'll, if they can control the middle of the park, they'll be all right. Okay. But I think defensively, that's their liability.
Okay. And then we get to a group that you're interested in. By the way, Three Rivers, we have I would say 3 home teams. There's going to be the Polish team for Alex. There's going to be Argentina for me.
Hey, I have family in Argentina.
And then the Venn diagram, which is the U.S.
The United States. Yep.
Poland being one of the home teams here. They were going to be going to the playoffs, and the winner of this group was the Brits. Now, England is an interesting
contenders.
I think no doubt, because if you think their progression, they made it to the semifinals of the World Cup, and then last time they made it to the finals of the Eurocopa. So by that pattern, you would think that they might make some noise. They're a very well-coached team. They have a good backline with Stones, and I also like Harry Kane is a number 9 to the hilt. So I think they're dangerous, but they are known for choking at the end.
The last time.
Like the last time, like in penalties against Argentina in '98.
This, I think, might be one of their best shots in a long time, even more so than the last go-around. Those players that were 22, 23 cut their teeth the last go-around. They're 26, 27 now. They're in their prime. If they're going to do it, I think this is their time.
I agree 100%, but I also agree that they're going to have to work on their penalty kicks, because that penalty kick shootout, they missed like crazy. They weren't even close. The goalie wasn't saving it. Mm-hmm. If I was the coach, I would definitely work on that area, because knowing their luck, it might come down to that. All right, I think we ripped almost through all of.
I think we missed Group J. Germany qualified easily.
So Germany's in,
and North Macedonia now. They're not Macedonia ananymore. North Macedonia are in the playoffs. Surprising, because they knocked out Romania.
Okay, wow. So Macedonia's in, and Germany, 4-time champion, plays with discipline, organization.
Always falls into the contender.
I mean, there's not much needs to be said. I will say this: out of watching all the German players throughout the years, and I've seen Beckenbauer, I've seen the greats, Klinsmann, But Thomas Müller, oh my God,
fantastic player.
I think he's perhaps
consistent,
one of the best forwards, and I think it's selling him short calling him a forward, because the guy can come back and defend like nobody's business, and he's a team leader that they respond to. Just go back and watch that 7-1 thrashing that they give the Brazilians, and he was at the center of almost every play and every goal. Hats off to him, and of course a contender. I would say a 6-1, 5-1 shot to win the whole thing.
Yeah, he would definitely, I think, provide them that boost, like you said. Not necessarily a number 9. He can float.
Right,
much like I think Messi or Ronaldo.
Dynamic.
They're goal scorers, but they're not like Lewandowski's a number 9. He's a striker. Right. Messi, Ronaldo, they float, you can't really pin them into one position.
And he falls into that, and it's great. And it's a throwback to the old Platini days and players like that.
You don't really see that anymore.
No, you don't. And then the final group, I guess, is
the French.
The French. Congratulations, Allez les Francs.
Among the favorites, not even contenders.
And their two strikers are phenomenal. They're just solid all around. Yes, they got beat by Switzerland at the last, but I think they were overconfident, perhaps, and they won't run into that same problem. And then what else we had? The Czech Republic.
Czech Republic goes to the playoffs. And as does Ukraine.
As does Ukraine, and I think Austria will be the last ones to join us there. Okay.
So
I think we wrapped up England.
Europe
pretty well.
I think we did, and we're going to save our kind of predictions for the end of the program. Correct?
Because they start in March. That next window. That's what they call it in football terms, a window.
Should we just keep rolling through?
Yeah. Okay. Do we have a break?
No, I think let's just run right through it. We'll take a break right before the picks.
Okay. So
South America.
Do you want to go to South America?
Let's go. Let's do it.
My area of expertise. All right.
Listen, I love watching qualifying from South America. It is one of the most, I think, in my opinion, the most difficult path to the World Cup.
And unpredictable.
Yes, because you never know what's going to happen. For me, there's a lot of variables, like when you go to La Paz.
Yeah.
You go up, 10,000 feet or whatever it is. And
they won 64% of their games there.
There's a reason. Yeah. You can't be. It's, I know everybody says the U.S. tries to emulate going to Mexico City. There's no way to emulate going to La Paz.
Not only that, teams prepare, Alex, and bring oxygen to the locker room and stuff that. Yeah. So the Bolivians can't be counted out. All right. So,
but I think looking at
this table,
you got two teams in.
You have two in that were the two favorites, and let's go over it. Brazil, the Seleção. Wow, they always have phenomenal players. This year is no different. Well coached. They have not lost a game. And they could be the first team in South American qualifiers to go through without losing a game. However, there's another team that hasn't lost a game. La República Argentina.
Your team.
Sorry, I'm going to have to kiss. I like their chances after that Copa America solid win at the Maracanã. You know what it is to go into Brazil and win at the Maracanã?
That's earth shattering.
That's it. So yes, Brazil won, Argentina too, but I think it's 1 and 1A.
We're also starting to see that this team is more than just Messi.
Yes, and Rodrigo de Paul. Listen to that name. I know he had a coming out party at.
Plays for Atleti.
He's not done. He's class. And for once, Alex, and this is a huge point, Argentina has a great goalkeeper now. Emiliano Martinez.
Yep.
Solid. And this is coming from a River Plate fan that would love to see Armani in there, but I have to admit, Maxi's a little better, and he talked trash at the Copa America to get inside the Colombian players. And I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, and I think he gives them now a goalkeeper for 2 World Cups. He's at 29. He'll be the guy for 2 cycles.
And he's good at stopping penalty kicks, which in today's football
you need. I think you need somebody who could be a specialist like that. And we've seen that. I think they're prepared to move on. Maybe not yet, but they're getting. I think they're getting to the point where they know that this is the last go for Messi, the last go for Di Maria, and we now can see there are players who have stepped in that are going to replace them. It's not like for like because you can't replace what Messi brought.
And
but
one last thing, and it's not a minor point, is that they're well coached. Finally, they have a good coach.
Yes,
I did not like the last 3 or 4 coaches. Even Diego Armando Maradona experiment went well till it didn't. So Argentina hasn't had a good coach until this one, and I like Scaloni. All right, so let's go on. And then Ecuador is the surprise third team.
They've created some space, too.
Yes,
they're
yes, but
they're almost there.
I will say though, they do have Argentina and Brazil coming up. If you look at their games,
We'll learn a lot about them.
We'll learn a lot about
Yeah.
them, but they are looking good. They're looking good for the third, and then it gets really bunched up.
I mean, you've got 5 teams, 6 teams.
Separated by
3 points, 4
in the
points.
South American, when they play each other, there could be a 6-point swing, which can totally turn things around. So let's continue. The Colombianos.
This is wide
the
open here.
Colombianos, or the cafeteros, they're called, the coffee people. Luis Diaz, James Rodriguez, up and down. He was excluded from the team. They brought him back. I have a Colombian friend, Alex, that says he's kind of slow and out of form. But even a slow and out of form Rodriguez can make a free kick goal, can lift the team.
He has to be in the squad.
He's gotta be on the squad.
Yeah, and I have their roster in front of us here for the qualifiers coming up. So he's in there. Falcao, they're still leaning on
great.
and still
Luis
playing
Diaz.
well. He's playing very well this year. So he needs to be there.
I agree, and so there. Don't count out the Colombianos. Who's next on the list? The Peru.
I believe we go to Peru next.
All right, now Peru's coached by an Argentine, and they had a wonderful showing in the Copa America. I mean, in the top 4, that uniform, when they play well with the red stripe going across diagonal, has nothing to do with River Plate, but it's very similar, and I love it. But Peru, don't count them out, and that's a team that could turn it around quick.
No true superstar on the Peruvian team, but lots of players who can play the role that they're asked to very well. And if you look down the roster, it doesn't sound intimidating, but they're all very, very individually talented, and they play well as a unit together.
I agree. So you can't count them out, and they could get hot like any of these teams. Next comes, surprisingly, the Chileans are kind of far down on the table, and we're talking about a team that had won 2 straight Copa Americas and had players like Sanchez. They're phenomenal, and now they're really
they're struggling. I think they're struggling for an identity as Alexis Sanchez gets older, as Arturo Vidal gets older and will be out of the team soon. A lot of those guys who got them to the dance, this is the last go around. I think Medel is 34, Isla's 33. They're not this, and this is a young man's game now, soccer. You know, you can have 1 or 2, but when you have 6 or 7 guys like that, you're kind of holding on for dear life, trying to come down the stretch.
And that's exactly where Peru is. They're holding on for dear life, but they're holding on to the hope. And like I said, they're well coached, so who knows? On to the next one. And this is another team that's kind of a special place in my heart, which is the Uruguayos. For Argentina, they're kind of like our neighbors. We're friends with them. We even share the same kind of looking sun. And when Argentina gets kicked out, and Italy and Uruguay, those are my 2 go-to teams. And I really would like Uruguay to turn it around.
I think they just got through the tough part, though. It was Argentina twice, Brazil, and La Paz.
Okay, that's a good
So
point,
now it's manageable.
It's manageable, but bringing up manageable, they're having troubles. Some people saying that their coaches are getting a little too old. Oscar, who's been at the helm for 3 or 4 World Cups. They are struggling. We'll know a lot more in the next game. Obviously, don't count out the Celeste. And like I talked about at the beginning, at the onset of the show, they're 2-time World Cup winners. So, and what's more is a few World Cups ago, they were finished in the top 4, and I thought they had the best team when they had Suarez and Godin, and it was just an embarrassment of riches for Uruguay.
And I think that they're another team like we had just talked about with Chile. They're getting older. And last go around Cavani, last go around for Godin, last go around for Suarez. I think that's where we're seeing this dogfight with these teams, where we're surprised and say, well, how did Ecuador get where they're at? This is usually a spot that Chile or Uruguay are occupying. Some older legs out there.
And it's not just for the South American division. Take Costa Rica, for example. Those guys have slowed down. Ruiz was like a slowpoke Rodriguez at the last game.
We'll talk about it in a minute when we get to CONCACAF, but I went to the qualifier in Columbus. That was not the same Costa Rica team. It was the same players, but not the same team I saw 4 years ago.
It's a tale as old as time. The players are aging. Then we move on to the Bolivianos. They're going to need some Bolivian marching powder to get to the next stage.
They need some help to get there, but they have
some home games left.
They have 2 home games left, so taking result, they have to take the 3 points in Venezuela to start this off. If they don't, then they're done.
And then we'll end of the table. Paraguay has been a contender in the past. The red and white stripes are having trouble this year. I just really don't think it's their year. And then we end with Venezuela. I think the Vino Tinto, they're called, because they're one of the few uniforms that is a maroon color. So they're called the red wine by other South American fans. A few years back, they surprised everyone and was improving their soccer teams. But now it's back to baseball and to winning the Miss Universe
They seem to be much better at baseball and Miss Universe.
30%. All the beautiful women, Alex,
are from Venezuela.
And
yes.
If you look up the statistics of who has won the most Miss Universe, but no, I don't mean to disrespect Venezuela. They might come back, but right now they're what's called the doormat or the punching back of the group.
When it is,
and everybody, all the teams in the area that want to play them expect to fully get the 3 points against them.
And again, I think you make a good point. It's a baseball country.
Yeah.
And that's really their thing. They like to play baseball, and you're fighting baseball for the top athletes.
And unfortunately, they're in the toughest division,
the toughest place to try to do this. And
so next year for Venezuela. So to sum everything up, it's crunch time, and things are still very much in play. The first 2 spots are taken. So basically, 2.5 spots, and you've got 6 teams going after it. So if that doesn't make for excitement, I don't know what does.
And I think for the way they pulled the lots for the playoffs, if you are that 5th team in South America, you have to be feeling good knowing that you're going to be going up against
New Zealand,
an Asian team. I mean, right now it would be UAE or Australia. If you get UAE, you're going to be pretty happy. If it's Australia, you might have a little harder fight, but if it's UAE, I think you're
looking good. So
you hit a few at home and then you're done.
So you're almost in with number 5. So everything to play for, and that's going to be the last day. Whenever that show that we hit on the last day, I think it's going to be till the last day where we know who has spot number 3, 4,
that would be, I believe, the end of March. So it would be like our March show would be where we would be we'd be talking about it.
Cool. All right.
Should we bring it back up here to CONCACAF to wrap things up?
Do we need to pause for the cause?
We'll just wrap it up at the end.
All right.
So we're going to bring it home here to CONCACAF, to North America, as we wrap up our first countdown to Qatar. We'll get more into the names and the stats and all of the people you need to know over the course of the next couple of months. But how about the surprise first place team?
I put this up because I knew you were going to say that. To my friends in Canada, the Rush listening, hockey watching, Moosehead drinking friends from the Great White North, congratulations.
You've arrived.
Not only arrived, but a solid, balanced team. I don't want to say there's so many stars. Davies is great. Hutchinson comes to mind.
They're very good going forward.
Yeah, and they're playing with a confidence, and it's almost like, Alex, they got a taste of success, and they love it. And
they do.
They want to stick with it, and they surprised the F out of Mexico. Mexico did not know what hit them. Los mexicanos estaban locos. They were crazy because they thought this was going to be a walk in the park, and this is not the same old Canadian team.
The Canadian Federation finally learned its lesson to not play the games in Toronto or where they found the coldest place they could have gone.
It's funny that you say that because to inform our viewers and listeners, the game will be played in Hamilton, Ontario, which is frigid.
Yeah, well, and they played Mexico in Edmonton. It was like 0 degrees out there when they played that game. And for all the years that, again, I've said some of these teams have made the U.S. or Mexico or U.S. or Canada play at like 3 in the afternoon. I guess that was payback.
But the Americans are preparing accordingly. However,
yes.
they are going to be practicing in Minneapolis.
That's a good place to do it. Yeah,
so,
I hear it's cold there.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I hear Minnesota's cold, but
and not looking too far ahead, but that Canada U.S. matchup, of course, will be great.
Yeah, it's a couple of days.
Guys, the third home team for Three Rivers, and that is the great U.S. of A.
I won't do it. I won't do it. I promised you before we started. I won't go down the roster hole.
Okay, no. But we'll definitely have things to talk about, as of course the roster was named. Did you see any glaring omissions from the roster? Besides John Brooks, maybe.
Attitude problem.
Oh, that's why. I wondered why.
Attitude problem. I think
he's the most experienced defenseman we have.
He's the best. He's the best center back we have.
And he's tall.
But when he doesn't bring it up here,
okay.
and I think that Berhalter has given him 4 or 5 tries now, and
he's just not one of Greg's guys.
No.
I think you have to be one of his guys, and I think it's almost like the coach Greg has his teacher's pets kind of players.
I think
and some are not worthy of being in the roster.
For me, the biggest one is the inclusion of Giassi Zardes. He's his guy. He coached him in Columbus. He won with him in Columbus, so he's gonna lean on him. I think that at 30, with the amount of talent the U.S. has that we've seen come through, now obviously Hoppy took an injury, and I don't think that there's a good relationship there either, because you could see, I was at the qualifier in Columbus, and you could see when he called Zardes, Hoppy was visibly frustrated that he's like, what do you mean you're putting him in the game over a guy like me? I think Pifak was another one who, unless he's hurt, he's got 11 goals for young boys in the Swiss League. He scored 5 in Champions League and isn't in the squad. So my biggest beef is with, you want to bring in MLS guys. Well, I'm not a fan of it, but whatever.
De La Torre was a good addition.
Yeah, he was a good addition, but these MLS guys haven't played in up to 10 weeks. Okay. You're bringing in out of season players when you have 50 guys in Europe now who are in season. That's my only concern. I don't have a problem with Acosta coming in. He proved me wrong.
Though.
He's inconsistent, but in the last 4 games he proved me wrong.
Okay.
Because he showed he can do it.
Okay.
And if he can hold it now, then he's one of the top guys for us in the middle of the park.
But I looking at the roster, the strength is actually in forwards for a change, and that never happens with the U.S. because I was never a big Altidore fan. And I always thought we were we haven't had a good.
We have 5 or 6 options
since Dempsey or McBride. It's been a while since we had a stuff. But now we have Pepe and we have Pulisic, 2 of the best. Pulisic's perhaps a top 20 player in the world. Period.
He's up there. You can make an argument he belongs on the list when
he's playing for Chelsea, the defending champs of the Premier League, so he's getting the experience. We have a good winger in Wea. I like the U.S. team.
There's
they have
depth.
a way to go. I still question the coach. I know he won 2 great wins against the Mexico, but I still think the jury's still out. And remember, he lost to Panama.
I've argued that they've won some of those games on guts, not necessarily on tactics. It was in spite. Yeah,
his in-game management is to be questioned, and jury's still out. Let's go over to Mexico. I have un montón de amigos mexicanos. The 3 is always to be respected. I like them extra this time around, even though they have an embattled coach, Tata Martino, who's Argentine. I think he's got him on the right track. Yes, they lost to the U.S., but they have the players. They have good forwards. And when they're on their game, they're a top 15 team.
4 of 6 are at home.
Yes.
So the last 4 of their last 6 will be at Azteca. That helps them. That helps them big time.
70,000 Mexicanos going crazy. I think that they will qualify, and who knows? They might make some noise. Although if you look historically at Mexico, they always get to the 16, and that's it. Yep. They never get to the 8 or anything before, and they sometimes surprise. Ask the Germans if they can get surprised by the Mexicans. Next, we have another. I love how we have surprise teams this year, and this is another one. Panama. We call them the Caneleros, the people from the canal. Boy, they beat the U.S. Are they for real? They're going to have some tough matchups coming up, but we'll find out a lot. And I'm kind of rooting for a small country like Panama.
And I think that's another country that used to be a big baseball country that has really shifted and become a soccer country. And their midfielders, if just looking at the roster that they've called in, they've got some very talented players. Several players in La Liga. They've got a good team. Certainly capable of finding a way to squeeze past one of the teams we've already talked about.
I mean, their point total is the same as Mexico. That in itself says a lot. And then 5 points behind, so almost like way behind. But Costa Rica, Alex and I mentioned how they really lost a step, and their golden generation is now extra golden years generation, perhaps.
Yeah, I think the legs are catching up. Yeah,
I think I'm done with that, and I'm gonna put them on the next time revamp. And now another team that's special. The Jamaicans. Oh, I love the Jamaican attitude. I love reggae music. and the Reggae Boys are still in it. It's tough to play in Jamaica. It's like a foreign atmosphere, and teams sometimes have trouble. I wouldn't count the Reggae Boys out, but
it's a stretch.
To say that it's been disappointing is an understatement.
And I think
I did expect better from Jamaica.
And I think with Jamaica, they've tried to see who they could find that's dual nationals. Find guys who they're in England, born there, of Jamaican heritage, either mother, father, grandparents, whatever, because you can make that switch. And they've got
forwards, right? Reed.
They have some very good players. Reed is one of them. They have Leon Bailey, Aston Villa. Their biggest issue is they've developed this pool of dual national players who are in England that they can't consistently get the same crop in every time. You'll have guys who will commit to them at 27, 28. They'll call them in, they'll play 3 or 4 times, and then they'll back out or disappear or whatever. Whereas I think some of their most consistent guys have been the guys who have stayed in CONCACAF and have played most of their careers here. In MLS.
And Alex, Jamaica's the type of team that will benefit from the expanded field of 48 next time.
They could be in.
That's exactly the type of country that would get in. And then just to round out the field, El Salvador and Honduras.
The wheels came off the bus for Honduras.
Like they say in baseball, maybe next time. So that's where we are in South America. 2 teams definitely in, ready to join the party. And then a lot of people fighting for those 2.5 extra spots.
So how do you want to break down the final 5 minutes here that we have to look at some picks for qualifiers? Do you want to focus on the playoffs? Do you want to look at some of the games that are going on in CONCACAF? Or
let's do the CONCACAF and a couple South America games, and then we'll call it a show.
Okay, so we've got we got a host of matches over the next week and change.
I'm going to put on my sunglasses so I can make the picks.
All right, so let's run through them. We'll just pick them all here since we'll run through the first match day coming up here on the 27th. You've got Mexico traveling to Jamaica. Could be a little tricky. I would take Mexico in that one.
I'm going to go with tie, an empate. It's a word in Spanish, empate. I think Jamaica's going to hold court at home and tie them up.
U.S.
1-1 if I had to say.
1-1? Okay, I'll take Mexico 1-0.
Okay.
U.S. in Columbus against El Salvador.
3-0. I think U.S. Comes on strong against the hapless El Salvadorians.
I'll go with you. I'll say 3. Canada has the sticky wicket trip to Honduras. Again, Honduras at the bottom, but this is that weird trip that you always have to take to the Metropolitano. I'm going to go 1-1.
Wow, that's a bold pick to pick a tie. You think Honduras is
at
home,
a
lot to show at home?
Yeah.
But I think Canada's like on some kind of special wave, and I think a 1-0 squeak out where they get a lead and then they park the bus, like you say. So I'm going to go with the Canadian win.
Costa Rica against Panama in San Jose.
Costa Rica in an upset. I think Panama's been playing above their level, and Costa Rica, even though we said they've been slow.
The old guard hangs on?
I think, maybe 2-1 standard soccer score there.
Okay. Moving on. Match day 10. Now, January the 30th, 3 days later. This is, I would say, the marquee of the entire week for CONCACAF. Up in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada against the United States. Should we come back to that and we can pick that one last? Okay. We'll save the best for last. Also that night, you have Mexico, Costa Rica at Azteca. I'll take Mexico 2-0.
Mexico 2-0 by the score that we beat them usually.
I'll take it.
Okay.
Panama home against Jamaica.
I like the Jamaicans to make an upset win. How about I say they come on strong with a 2-0 win.
I'll take Panama 1-0.
There's a different one.
So I'll go back and I'll write them down as we edit and we'll compare. Okay. Honduras, El Salvador in what is generally kind of a meaningless qualifier.
Scoreless tie.
0-0. I'll go with it. 0-0. Scoreless draw. We'll come back to the last USA Canada game. Jamaica, Costa Rica, February 2nd in Kingston. 0-0.
I 1-1, but I agree with a tie.
United States in frigid St. Paul, Minnesota against Honduras, 2-0.
I like that call. I'm gonna have to piggyback on that call. 2-0 sounds.
I will say could be more. I'll say 2, but could be more. Mexico home against Panama, very big game.
That's gonna be a big game. I say Panama shows up. Where is that one?
Azteca.
It's in Azteca. All right, Mexico gets the win. How about 2-1?
I could go with 2-1.
Okay.
I'll stick with that. And then Canada goes to El Salvador, a place where the U.S. struggled.
Yeah, but El Salvador's been the doormat of the league, the cellar dweller, and Canada's playing well, so I'd like a 2-0 win there.
All right, I'll go Canada 1.
Okay.
1-0. And then let's circle back here for the U.S.-Canada pick that, unfortunately, we have to make up in Canada. Now, I will say that I think the Canadians' Achilles heel is the back line. Their midfielders can hold serve. They have great wingers.
How's their goalkeeper?
Milan Borjan, good goalkeeper.
Okay.
Plays for Red Star Belgrade. Lots of Champions League experience with them. But for me, I've said this all along.
All right, Alex, give me a call.
USA 2-1.
Okay, I like that.
Unless Berhalter tries to park it, then Canada will win 2-0.
No, I kind of like.
But I'm going to say 2-1 US.
I've been leaning towards Canada, but I don't think they're going to win. I think it's going to be a tie, but I think it's going to be a good game. I think
Very
it's going
entertaining.
To be a 2-2 type game where one of the team scores in one of the final minutes.
I could see that. Do you want to look at South America as we wrap it up?
We're done.
Yeah, then
we got 2 dates, 2 windows there.
Yeah, and then coming up in
It's good you're good with a computer to put up the screen.
yeah, and then coming up in the next round is when we start the European
the
playoffs.
Yeah,
we'll start.
That's where you'll be nervous with Poland playing.
I will.
Russia.
That's going to be a very tricky
Like
game
I said,
coming
I feel
out the
bad
gate.
for Poland. They really got in the group of death, no doubt. I mean,
So we've got just two qualifying rounds in South America. Ecuador is home against Brazil. Brazil, I'll take them.
2-0.
2-0. I'll take 2-0 as well. Okay. Paraguay home against Uruguay. Must-win game for both.
And I think Uruguay, the battle of the Guays, just by the way, but I like the Celeste. I like Uruguay because they got too much talent to be like towards the bottom of the table.
I'll take them close. 1-0 maybe.
I like that. I'm going to go with that.
Chile must win at home against Argentina. Don't see it.
I think Argentina is just on a roll. I think Chile's definitely lost a step. I think Argentina is mad at Chile for taking the two Copa Americas that Messi should have had. Imagine if Messi has 3 Copa Americas under his belt.
You'd be talking about
which could have happened.
Yeah, would he? And I think he's already at worst the top 5 all time.
Yeah,
would he be number 1 at that point?
So I think 3-1 win for Argentina.
I'll say 2-0. Okay. Colombia against Peru. That's in Barranquilla.
You know what? It's not the big, flashy matchup, but that
should
might be the most.
It'll be entertaining.
It might be the most important.
It is
of that particular window, and I like a tie in that 1-1.
Okay, I'll go 0-0.
Okay.
And then Venezuela hosting Bolivia. Bolivia need the points.
Is Bolivia at home in that high altitude?
No, they're in Venezuela.
Ooh. But they still need. I think
they need the win.
1-0 win. I'm seeing nothing out of Venezuela.
No, not impressed. 1-0 Bolivia.
Okay, so
I'll go with you.
Win that one. All right.
The last round here, February 1st. Then we'll have the in February. We'll preview March. Bolivia is home against Chile in La Paz.
La Paz, they're gonna win. The Chileans are gonna be needing
60%.
I say 2-0 win for Bolivia.
I'll go 1-0.
Okay, you think a squeaker? Okay.
They'll squeak it by. Right. Uruguay home against Venezuela, 2-0. I'll say Uruguay.
Uruguay continues their romp. They're gonna say, hey, we're among the 4 best teams in South America. Pay respect to us. And Venezuela's been the doormat. I say Uruguay wins big, maybe 3-0.
Argentina against Colombia. That's in Cordoba.
That's always a tough game. And that's almost like a tie. If it's in Colombia, it's gonna be a tie. I'm going to go with a 1-1 tie.
Okay. I'll go 1-0 Argentina.
Okay.
Brazil home against Paraguay. I'll take Brazil at home.
They're at home?
Yeah.
If Paraguay was at home, I would maybe think they could have a tie, but I say 2-0 Brazilian win.
I like that. And then the last one of the round is Peru hosting Ecuador in Lima.
And I like the Peruvians winning at home 1-0. I think Ecuador is due for a down and Peru's due for a up arrow. So I'm going to go with the Peruvians in that one. The Incas go.
If this shakes out the way we just called it, the last round of qualifying is going to be absolutely wonderful to watch. It'll be incredible.
And so that'll be a great category. All right. Well, Alex, I think we really covered a lot.
Great show.
We did go over a little bit, but there
was
a lot to cover, and it was our inaugural show. So hopefully we're able to fill that void of a World Cup type show on not only on Three Rivers Broadcasting, but on YouTube, which eventually this will be on.
Yep.
And hopefully we'll get a nice reach. Because it is not a provincial topic. This is a very global topic. And for those of you who are saying countdown to Qatar, 10 months away, hey, we've been waiting 4 years. So this is not really so far away.
Well, we still have a lot of qualifying left.
Yeah, and this is an odd year because normally, as all you viewers that know the World Cup know that it's always played in June, July, and this time, because temperatures reach 107 degrees on average, it's been shifted to November, which gives us more time to prepare. But it'll be for the first time we have a World Cup in the fall, which would be interesting. And then the other interesting thing, no matter of how they got the World Cup, but Qatar got the World Cup, and to have a World Cup for the first time in the Middle East is an interesting thing. It's almost like an Aladdin World Cup. So I think it's going to be interesting.
I think it's going to be. I think they're going to put on a great show.
They have the money.
They have the money.
And just to let you know, I don't want to plug my own article writing, but
please, that's why you're here.
Okay,
please, you can plug yourself.
I wrote an article on La Mega Nota on Qatar, kind of why they got it. And one of the most interesting things that I found out was, first of all, they started building stadiums 15 years ago. So it's almost like they knew they were going to be awarded the World Cup. And they've
been preparing.
They almost knew that they were going to throw like unquestionable amounts of money into the corrupt FIFA officials.
They did what whatever happened happened.
Whatever happened, and I don't want Sepp Blatter coming after me or anything. So, but I won't say how they got it. But the fact is that they're putting so many resources into it. It is the richest nation on earth. Doing my research, the average per capita income is $91,000 per. For the average, they share the wealth. The wealth is due to the petroleum and natural gas that they found, and they are pouring it into transportation systems. And 7 out of the 8 new stadiums that will be used are brand new. And what's more, the first state-of-the-art stadiums that are going to have air conditioning along the sides to keep the players and the fans happy. So they're sparing no expense, the Qataris, to make sure.
Oil money goes a long way.
Yeah, I'm telling you. And I think they can put on a World Cup for the ages. So I'm excited. Thank you for bringing me along to this first show.
Looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to next month where we can discuss some of the results.
All right. Hey, listen, this was great, Amadeo. You can catch him on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle, Amadeo? Let everybody know.
And then the little underscore and then Eichberg. And I do tweet a lot of soccer stuff and rock music. Those are my 2 interests. So
all right.
You'll see some of those.
Again, we want to thank Amadeo from La Mega Media here in Pittsburgh. Make sure you follow them. They're going to be making their debut on the radio very, very soon.
Yeah, in March, we're going to have a historic first Spanish radio station, which is a first for the city, as the demographics of the Latino community just grow exponentially, Alex. The need is there for a Spanish radio station, and beyond music and news, we're going to put some sports in, and we have some surprises down the line as we cover the Riverhounds and other local sports. So thanks again for having me. It was a wonderful hour, and I totally enjoyed it.
Great show. Thanks for coming in. We'll see you next month for another Countdown to Qatar.